Hey there, it's a slot machine here, and tonight we are with Todd from This Week in Gambling. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just got done eating dinner.
I'll go do that as soon as we're done.
Nice. What do you hope to eat?
Steak.
Yum.
I grew up in Texas, so steak for me.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And for me, my favorite food has to be broccoli because my mama raised me on broccoli as my mac and cheese.
Cannot eat broccoli.
Yes, so I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I've been working and gambling for 20 years. Started in 2001, probably when you were still in grade school.
I was 1 year old.
Okay, there you go. Started in online gambling as an affiliate. And once the laws changed in the United States in 2006, I was threatened with prison for running an online gambling site.
Oh my gosh.
And so I started doing video instead for online gambling. And the videos became popular and been doing video work. I came from doing an affiliate type of agreement in online gambling straight into doing video. And then in 2012, I expanded into online gambling because I saw that the two were kind of coming together.
Yes.
And that's when I started This Week in Gambling.
That is so cool. And I definitely find it really scary, just the fact that you were threatened with prison time.
Yeah, they said I was, by being an affiliate, you make a little bit of money off of the players. So the state of Washington said that was bookmaking, even though I never took a bet. My players were from all over the world, and I was sending them to licensed casinos in the UK and Costa Rica, but it didn't matter to the state of Washington. All that mattered to them was I lived here and I ran a website, and so they were going to throw me in jail.
That is really messed up. And when that was happening, what was like your initial reaction to the entire situation?
Well, my initial reaction was to make videos about it, to tell people exactly what the government was doing.
Yep.
That's really how I became in land-based gaming with This Week in Gambling. I do not consider myself to be an influencer. I'm more of I report news and I try to make it entertaining and educational. But in online gambling, because I was an affiliate, and affiliates are a community, I am an influencer for the affiliate community, but they're two totally separate things. And you can watch This Week in Gambling and never, ever know that I have this whole other thing that I do for online casinos.
What do you find to be the most lucrative when it comes to like marketing an online casino?
Online casinos are similar to land-based casinos and where they make their money, which is primarily from slot machines.
Yes.
Online poker, to be profitable as an affiliate in online poker, you need a very large player base. You have to really build up a lot of players because they're taking very small rakes. Whereas if you promote online casino games and you have one or two good players, you could make a significant amount of money. Of course, the caveat here is that you always want your players to be able to afford those kind of losses. You don't want to be contributing to hurting someone or hurting a family. I would much rather have $10 a month for 50 years than get $1,000 in 1 month and then nothing else ever again. So people have said that online gambling is dangerous because they don't care about players. That's simply not true. Online gambling is actually safer from a problem gambling standpoint than land-based casinos are.
What makes online gambling safer than the land-based casino?
Well, deposit limits, it's more strictly regulated.
Good.
People, you're very transparent when you are at an online casino. They know your credit card, they know you have to register an account. In many jurisdictions, you have to go into a physical casino. And so they can track everything that you do. They know how much money you're spending, if you're up or down. And there are safeguards in place to warn, quality controls to warn if a player may be spending more than they usually do or on a really bad streak, you know. But in a land-based casino, I have never seen anyone checking your ID or your finances when you're taking money out of the ATM. So in a land-based casino, you can be anonymous and no one's going to stop you, even if they'll bring you alcohol and you can drink and drink and drink. And no one's going to care how many times you go to the ATM to get more money. But in an online casino, there are regulators who look at that and they hold operators responsible for a player activity who's playing beyond their means. There are also lists that you can put yourself on, opting out of gambling, so that if you're on a list, they're not supposed to send you any marketing materials. They're not supposed to send you emails, and they're not supposed to allow you to register an account at their casino. So with online, there are far more safeguards in place. It's not perfect, obviously, but there are more safeguards in place.
That is so good to know. For me, before you said all of that, I thought it was the other way around, where the online casinos were super unregulated. Anything could go, and like anything could go. And I just find it like a relief to hear what you have to say about online.
Well, yeah, and you got to remember, not every casino online is going to be regulated and licensed. It's very important that you check out the casino online before you play. We were talking about something, I haven't seen any figures recently, but 10, 15 years ago, the industry was worth 30 or 40 billion dollars a year. When you would have that much money, you're going to attract people that are looking to get in, take advantage, and get out and be anonymous. And for a minimal investment, 20, 30, $40,000, you could get in and start up a casino under any name you want.
Yes.
And there's no guarantee that that person is who they say they are. So when I say that they're safer, take that in context, meaning the regulated licensed casinos that have been around for many years, that have favorable reputations, that are listed on some of the websites that are player-oriented websites. I work for Casino City. This Week in Gambling is sponsored by Casino City. That's a great source for you to find out. They'll tell you, they list all the casinos and if they're regulated or not.
For Casino City, how did you get involved working for Casino City?
Casino City, remember how I told you I was an affiliate?
Yes.
Well, when I was an affiliate making videos, Casino City purchased my company and I started working for them in 2008 and still making those videos. In 2012, I stepped away from Casino City and became a contractor. So I still made their videos, but I was also free to work in the land-based side with This Week in Gambling. So that's how Casino City and I developed a working relationship.
That is so cool. And I find what you have to say very fascinating. For online casinos, what are the biggest red flags that a new player should look out for when signing up an account?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been an online casino player, but like I said, the most important thing you can do is check out the casino itself. Make sure that if you are at Casino City, there's also a friend of mine who runs a very popular online player website called Casino Meister. I don't know if you're ever familiar with him. Brian Bailey runs that site. I've known him for 20 years. He's a very reputable guy. Casino City, I know the people that run that, very reputable people. We work with, they work with the big guys that have been licensed and regulated in Europe and in the United Kingdom for years. You're talking about Bet365 and Intertops and casinos like that. Casinos that aren't really available to people in the United States right now, but perhaps someday will be. If you go to those sites and look, it's not too hard to find out if a casino is reputable or if they have problems. Outside of that, if you're just taking a chance and signing up at an online casino, you know, if their bonus offers are too high,
Yes.
be careful, because there's going to be the terms and conditions that if you don't read all 6,000 words, you can only play a certain game at a certain time for a certain amount of time. And if you try to cash out, oh, we're really sorry, you can't do that. So that's one very obvious thing. I mean, casinos that say if you deposit $20, we'll give you 500, it may make you wonder how they could stay in business. Well, they couldn't. So that $500 may be there for you to play with, but if you win, say you win $100 and they say, well, you can cash out the 100 after you play through it 50 times. Well, there's not going to be anything left unless you hit a jackpot. And even then, I doubt you're going to get your money.
Yeah, there's been times when, out of curiosity, when I'm like looking at some online casinos and there's like bonus offers that say 10,000 free poker chips, and this is, and it sounds like so outrageous. I do begin to wonder if it's like too good to be true, which means like I just like start questioning, is like, will I ever get my money back? And I've also heard stories of people who go to online casinos and as they try to cash out, their account gets banned.
Yes, that has happened several times. My associates at Casino City have been kind enough to work with players and affiliates in the past who were owed money and the casino didn't pay them. Inevitably, the casino will always say, well, they violated our terms and conditions. And this is the fallback position for them. They were in business to scam people. Yep. And now that they've been caught, because logistically, the odds are that eventually they're going to have a player win some money.
Yep.
They have to figure out a way not to pay them. So they always fall back to these very vague, very confusing terms and conditions. And if push comes to shove, I've seen online casinos just fold up and disappear overnight with everyone's money.
Yep. Yeah, I do find the idea of like online gambling very risky because there's like so many traps, I've noticed.
There are traps, but if you stay with the casinos that have been doing this for 20, 25 years, who are regulated by a respectable gambling commission or a gambling authority, and you go to these player message boards or these information sources and do 30 minutes worth of research, can end up saving you a lot of money. So there are dangers, but I mean, it's just like going out in Las Vegas at night. Yep. You stay where it's lit, you go out with friends, and you don't go down dark alleys or get into strange vehicles with people you don't know, unless it's an Uber, of course. But the point is that Las Vegas is fun and great, and you can go and have a good time, but you have to use common sense when you're there, just like with online casinos. There are very reputable sites and you can have a good time. Just use your common sense.
Definitely. And I do want to know is, do you ever, from your perspective, do you ever feel that sports betting and online gambling will be legal in the majority of the United States eventually?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, sports betting is already legal in a majority of the United States.
Nice.
Maybe not by population, but certainly by states. I believe now there are 30 or 31 states where it's legal. And the confusing part, people say online gambling, and what they mean is online casino games.
Yes.
Sports betting right now in most of those states, if not all of them, is legal via a mobile application, which means you could also go online. When you are mobile betting, you are in fact betting online. So the fact that 31 states may have sports betting and most of them have online mobile betting, therefore, most of the states have online gambling. Casino games, they've been reluctant to regulate those because casinos, whether correct or incorrect, are afraid of cannibalization. Don't want people sitting at home playing online and not being in the casinos, getting a hotel room, ordering dinner, ordering drinks, going to a show. I don't think it's a realistic concern. I understand their concerns, but online is really a marketing tool that land-based casinos could use. They could use online games to bring people in, offer comps, offer discounts on shows that you can, your online play can get you discounts to other things. They could supplement that by running commercials or advertisements when you log in. There's all kinds of ways to use that as a tool. Yet they're afraid that people are going to stop coming to the physical casinos, which I think you and I both know is not likely to happen. In fact, when I play an online game, it makes me want to go to the casino and to socialize and to have the sounds in the air and the lights and the smells and to have a good time with drinks and friends. It's not the same when you're at home, no matter how fancy they make the game. So to your question though, online casinos, I think they finally will come around and regulate those. And now that they have proven that they can successfully regulate sports betting, regulating online games, table games, poker is much simpler because it's much more straightforward with a game of poker or an online slot than it is when you're dealing with spreads that move and betting lines that are not fluid. All of that is much more complicated to regulate. So they've already proven it can be done. The question is when they're going to do it. And as soon as they need more money, I promise you, they'll do it.
That is so interesting to think about. I've never thought of online casinos as a way to suck players to the physical casino. But when I think about it even more, especially when I'm playing like Lightning Casino on my iPad just for fun and all, it actually makes me want to go to the actual casino and play the real game. On top of that, I do feel that as more millennials and more people like around my age and generation grow up with digital slot games, and I just like the desire to be on the phone more, that's when the patronage of the physical casino may shift. And gone off your point, I do feel that that's gonna really increase the odds of casinos supporting online casinos.
Yeah, and there will be some point where they will never completely merge into one, but there will be a time when they are interwoven, at least, where you can play the same slot game on your phone that's on the casino floor, and you can go from one to another. And they're already starting to talk about cashless casinos physically. So your online account where you're playing online at a casino, you can bring that same account and sign in to a real casino, a real slot machine, and just play off the same money.
Nice. That is gonna be so convenient. And I didn't ring about this, but in Canada, I believe that the first ever that there's this one machine that you can play in the casino and online, and it should have the same progressive jackpot.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Right now, the odds are slightly different. Online casinos usually have better odds because there's lower overhead. I think Nevada makes their slot payments, I think they're somewhere around mid 80% is the lowest you can go. And online, they can adjust their rates all the way up to 97 or 98% payouts.
I'm not worried that online slots had better odds.
Online slots usually have better odds, although I have, in my experience, toured some online casinos and watched some things that were less than ethical. I know that in the past, I don't know if it's true now, but in the past, some casinos could adjust the payout rates of their slot machines just by hitting a few computer keys. So you could be playing it in the middle and it's been 98%. And if an operator sees you're winning a lot, they can immediately change it to like 78%. And you'll never know because you're playing and you don't have access to that. I've seen them take blackjack and go from a 6-shoe blackjack game to a 60-shoe blackjack like that. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that would not happen in a fully regulated market. So when people say, well, I don't know if we should regulate online casinos, people are already playing them. And if you're playing in an unregulated environment, you're unprotected from things happening like that. So regulation, if you're really concerned about player protections, regulation is the way to go, not criminalization, which was their attitude in the past.
I do feel that when you criminalize something, it actually draws more people to it, and it actually I believe, could create more people who want to open online casinos to see what they can get away with. There's definitely a law to making something illegal, and I do feel that with if it's remain criminalized, that is going to be such a stigma, and that's just going to create a lot more problems down the road.
Yes, sports betting was similar. For many years, sports betting was perfectly fine in Europe and the UK. And but over here in the United States, it was illegal and it was associated with gangsters and organized crime. So to your point, it had a stigma of being unethical and something that you just did not do. But through education, you know, back when I was doing my videos in 2006, right after all the laws changed, we were screaming these truths, but no one would listen. The reason was, of course, that the government had to criminalize it in order to get control of it so that they could then come in and profit from it through taxation. So it's a system that they go through criminalization, they villainize it, then they criminalize it, and then they monopolize it. So from one to another to another.
Yeah, to me, that is such a weird system, and it does not make very much logical sense.
Well, you're dealing with politics, and a politician cannot come out and say, you know, these guys gave me a lot of money and because they want to do online gambling and they want to profit from it. But online gambling is illegal right now. So how do we get around that? Well, first you have to go after the people that are doing it and make them look bad. They're not protecting people. They're targeting children. It's not safe. And then after you do all that, you can come back and say, but look, these guys are safe and we're regulating them because they're paying for a license. And so that's just the way politics works in the Western world, unfortunately.
Yep, I do feel that politics can be very messed up, but on a happier note, I'm wondering, what are your favorite moments of creating this kind of content?
When you say content, I'm guessing you're talking about the This Week in Gambling videos and the slot machine reviews and stuff. Well, you know, I say This Week in Gambling is a labor of love because it is heavy production work. It's shot in the studio and on a green screen, obviously. But in addition to that, if you've ever watched, we put in scenes from when I'm in Las Vegas on the Strip or down on Fremont Street, and we use a lot of high-end B-roll for our breaks and our transitions. So we're pulling this week's headlines, and then you're scripting it to be informative and educational without being too complex. And you want to have a little bit of entertainment, but it can't be a comedy show. It has to have some purpose. People can get their news from anywhere. So when they come and they watch This Week in Gambling, what we're hopefully doing is providing them a little bit of entertainment, making them feel a little bit like they've been in Las Vegas because of the scenes and the shots that we use, but also that they're getting a little something that they could not get just from reading an article, and that is the experience that I and my colleagues have in this industry to kind of look below the surface and say, why would someone be doing this? Why is this making news? And why is it important to a player? So that's rewarding and entertaining for me to be able to go out there and do that. It's one thing to write a news story. It's something else to create a new video every week that has a different background and different music and different news stories and different B-roll, and put it all together into something that's a 5-minute nugget.
Wow.
And people seem to enjoy it. I hope they do. So
Yes.
For me, that's the part I enjoy the most.
That sounds so amazing. And when I watch your videos, I absolutely love the quality. And it's like something like this, like so, like especially your personality and your narrative. It is so magical. I'd rather be watching the video than like reading through a long news article.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And you know, we kind of talk about the stories making news, and sometimes they relate to one another. So you can go one into another. And of course, we do the slot machine reviews as well. I know that you've interviewed some slot influencers on your shows before.
Yes.
Like I said, I do not consider myself a slot influencer, where our reviews of slot machines they're very different than an influencer does. We shoot them on a camera, on a tripod, and we shoot them during demonstration mode to show all the features of them. The casinos love them, and some players like them. I understand that players may like to watch a real gambling video as opposed to the slot reviews that we do. But most slot influencers are a younger generation than I am. I'm not going to appeal to those people anyway. I'll probably most likely appeal to people closer to my age, and they're the kind of people that are more likely to watch the kind of video that I'm producing. That said, we do have people that enjoy those videos, and I've met several influencers at like the Global Gaming Expo and things like that. But you know, we don't compete with one another. I told one of them that. He said, we should work together. And I told him, I said, you know, that'd be great for me, but I really can't offer you anything because my channel is still quite small, 3,500 or whatever, 3,300 subscribers. And his had like 20, 30,000. So for me, that would have been great. But for him, I can't offer anything to him.
Yeah, I do enjoy your slot videos because they're very educational, and I really like how you like walk viewers like through the bonuses and what to expect, which like really does like actually help me be able to film my own content. As like I'm like playing the real machine, I can say, oh look, that's the 3 bonus symbols we're looking for, or I find out stuff as it comes.
That's true. We do offer a little bit more, but usually because we're actually working with the game manufacturers, as opposed to sneaking into a casino or sneaking into a booth at the conferences. I actually contact and work with IGT and Scientific and Aristocrat and Konami and all the big guys, AGS. They'll kill me if I don't mention AGS. But you know, you work with them and you develop a relationship, and they like to have you come by and film for them. So in that regard, yes, because we're working with them, a lot of times we have a stand-up interview with a representative, or sometimes even the person who developed the game, and they can tell you, a little bit more about it than I ever could.
That is such a cool experience. It has also been something that has really been interesting to me, because I love, whenever I look at the new game, I love hearing about the development process of it, and I just like love seeing all of its features. It is so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. We're hoping to upgrade our equipment soon. And even though we won't be putting out 4K videos, we want to get some cameras that are ready when YouTube is ready to finally go to 4K.
Yes. Yeah, and also kind of random, but I remember being at G2e and I saw somebody walking with a red sequin jacket and a camera that had your logo on it. Was that you?
No, the red sequin jacket wasn't me, but I know who you're talking about. I'm guessing you probably saw him at the AGS booth.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I also wear very colorful jackets when I'm at conferences. And when I saw him, I was like, hey, you're stealing my stuff. And we had a good laugh. Very nice guy. I don't remember who he worked for specifically, but I know that he was retiring and that was going to be his last G2e. So now I have to carry on the responsibility of wearing the flashy sequined jackets.
I love the outfits, and they're definitely really eye-catching.
Yeah, the whole philosophy behind This Week in Gambling originally, you got to remember, I was coming out of videos where I talked about the government. I talked about people's lives being destroyed by the government, threatening them with prison. I was coming out of a place where they were shutting our industry down and the news was very serious. It was about politics. It was about court battles. And when we were coming into This Week in Gambling in 2012, and we were starting to come out of all of that, I said, I want to get back to what gambling and gaming is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun and entertaining. And so that's why This Week in Gambling is so lighthearted, if you like that term, is because gambling in and of itself, the whole gaming industry, is about being entertained and having a good time. So when I go to conferences, I wear the colorful jackets because I want to extend that kind of attitude that this is supposed to be fun.
Yes. Yeah, I really do find, shoot, darn it, I lost my train of thought, but there's like something that is so charming about having like a very unique outfit and like standing out from the crowd like a really good slot machine.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Really good slots will do that. And I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate to be able to work in an industry where I can dress like that and still have a job.
That is my type. That is definitely my type. My dream job too. Be able to dress how I want to. Be nice. Just be able to dress how I want to, with nobody judging me.
Exactly. So it's a great industry. It's I'm very fortunate that I get to work in it.
Yes, definitely. And also, before I forget, what are your thoughts on the new Aristocrat Dunes machine?
Oh, the Dune machine. Yeah, that was quite a game. Did you get a chance to play it?
I wish I did, but unfortunately, they were not letting anybody but clients into the Aristocrat booth. I was so sad that day.
Oh yeah. That's I've run into things like that before at conferences where they only let certain people in. But I think that had a lot to do with the COVID conditions as well. There were some people this past year that I did not get to film with, and it was because their staff was lower, their booths were smaller, and there were health precautions in place. But to your question, I did not get to play a lot of the Dune game because I'm sure you can relate that when you're there and you're focused on getting good shots and getting good materials, you find out from Aristocrat what they want you to film. Yeah. I had to go and get clearance from Aristocrat and from Legendary Entertainment, who made the movie, before I could put out the slot machine video review, which was quite frustrating because I had it done the Saturday after the conference was over. Yeah. And other people kept putting out Dune slot machine videos and getting all this traffic. And I was just sitting there waiting for Aristocrat to give me the go-ahead, which took an extra week because there were a lot of channels and it's very complicated. So I don't fault them for that. And I'm very grateful that I got to be one of the few people who saw it. But, you know, it's very big. It's very loud. It kind of envelops players within this chair with surround sound. I think there are some features to the chair where it maybe has a little bit of movement or built-in speakers that create vibrations and feelings. And, you know, when you're watching it in our video review, it's very difficult. You can't see all the way up. I mean, that screen went way up above. When the sandworm comes out, my camera can't go that high or else it loses the bottom of the screen. But that thing went up and it actually curves. The screen curves over the top of you. So when you're sitting there, the sandworm comes out, it's actually over your head. It's very, very, it really pulls you in. Very entertaining game.
That sounds like it. And also for that game, do you think that it's gonna be a high volatility or low volatility game based on what you've seen?
You know, I really can't say. I do know, however, that it's a penny slot, but you can play multiple lines. So I don't know what the max bet is on it. I believe I saw $40 being bet. And I'm going from memory, so please don't, you know, if it's not 40, don't be mad at me.
We won't be mad.
But I know that it has a $500,000 grand jackpot, so $500,000. I'm not sure if that's a standalone, if that's tied into one bank, or if it's a wide area progressive. I'm not sure, but I know that the grand jackpot is $500,000.
That is definitely an impressive jackpot. And for Dunes, my biggest question, my kind of just thought about it is because it is like a move based off like a very new movie, and in our society we seem to just like new things. So I just begin to wonder how long do you think that this game will last in the casino floor?
You know, that's hard to say. Some games are you know, have a lot of staying power, and usually I've noticed those are the core games, you know, like your Lightning Link. There, you know, Aristocrat also has Buffalo games, and of course the Wheel of Fortune games, Willy Wonka games. Of course, Wheel of Fortune and Willy Wonka are unique in that they're licensed games based off of movies or TV shows. But like your Buffalo and your Lightning Links, those are more just core games. So, you know, IGT made a whole, and Scientific Games have made a whole series of games based on Wheel and Willy Wonka. So there's no telling. I guess it kind of depends on player reaction and how much players really love a certain game, if there will be a follow-up or not.
I definitely do know that Huff and Puff is going to have a lot of staying power because there's like Huff and More Puff, which actually turned out to be my favorite game in the entire convention because of like all the bonus features, and there's always something happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's everyone has a favorite game for a reason, and you know, slot manufacturers know that, and they continue to design games not only with new features like motion gesture technology or haptic feedback. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but you know, they're always adding those new things, but there are always elements of games that players like, and they will keep incorporating those into games in exciting new ways.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, also what I really do wish, speaking of like the new games now, is I wish that manufacturers would like accommodate YouTubers and would make games and like put games in like formats which are very easy to film because of the YouTube influencer industry.
You know, that would be nice. I think we're starting to see a little bit of appreciation for the YouTubers. I know that they've always worked with me very well. From the moment I started, they welcomed me. They don't really, as far as making a game that's easier to film, I think they're just, it's, that's part of the experience. We talked earlier about online versus land-based, and YouTube being online has that limitation of not being able to show an entire slot game. But that's okay. It can show enough of it to get people interested that they want to go into the casinos and sit there and experience the game all around them. I mean, even if you get the whole game in a shot on YouTube, you can't experience what it's like to have the speakers behind you and on the sides of you and be actually in the game, feeling the buttons and getting that feedback through all of your senses.
Yes, that is such an interesting analogy, and I find it just like, I do find that sometimes when I'm watching a YouTube video and it says, I miss the casino.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I live in a city where I'm just a 2.5-hour flight away. And so I get down there when I can. Unfortunately, usually when I'm in Las Vegas, I have all my equipment and I'm out on the Las Vegas Strip filming. So if you're out on the Strip and you see me out there filming, come on over and say hello.
Definitely am. And I hope that when I go to Vegas, I get to see you and just kind of photobomb one of your videos.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Feel free to photobomb anytime you want. Everybody else does. We will be in London. Our plans are to be in London for the Ice casino exhibit. I know that's a long way, and I know with COVID that people aren't traveling as much as they usually do. But right now, that's the plans for our next show. And after I come back from Ice in February, I'll probably be planning my next trip to Las Vegas.
Nice. I do wonder, is there any like I do want to know, what is the biggest difference between Ice and G2e?
One's in England and one's in Las Vegas.
Nice.
I honestly think Ice is bigger than the Global Gaming Expo. The G2e is massive, but Ice is on a whole other level. It takes about 10 to 15, sometimes 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other, and it's on two different sides.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine G2e is only half of the convention, and then across the hall there's a whole other G2e going on. And now you have an idea of how big Ice is.
I've definitely got to take a trip down to Ice because I do want to, because of its like location. I do want to, it's more convenient for like a lot of manufacturers to come down.
Well, there was some talk about moving Ice to mainland Europe. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the UK left the European Union. And so now they're created a little bit of a logistical nightmare with shipping and taxes, and I don't even know what else. All I know is that one game manufacturer, Mercure, had brought up that maybe it's time to move Ice back to Europe, which I'm fine with if they do. I've been to conferences in many different European countries because people are nice enough in our industry to keep moving them so that we can see more and more of Europe. But, I don't know if Clarion, who run Ice, is willing to do that. We do work with them, and maybe I'll ask them that next time we have a conference call. Yes. But right now it's on for London, and that's what we're looking forward to.
So going back to the industry, how do you build connections in the industry?
Oh, Lordy. Well, my connections have generally been organically connected. The fact that I do video has put me in a position where a lot of people recognize me when I go to conventions, and I don't know who they are, but they come up, they want to introduce themselves. So in that regard, I'm very fortunate because I'm just a guy with a camera and a big mouth. I've been around for a long time, and so I've accumulated knowledge. Because of that, I get to do these videos. And mostly because very few people like to do video. I'm sure you doing video, sometimes it's very difficult. We don't think that it's that big of a deal, but other people like, no, 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 don't put me on video. So we get to do that. So I've grown connections because I've worked with, you know, as an affiliate, I've worked with a lot of programs. And then I worked with Casino City, who opened a lot of more doors for me. And then people coming up to me at conferences and handing me business cards and saying, I want to work with you. And then, of course, with land-based, I was fortunate enough to tell people, hey, I'd like to come film your games. And they checked out This Week in Gambling and welcomed me. So, and in the land-based gaming industry, there's a lot of lateral movement. People go from one company to another quite a bit. So I may not have a connection at that company, but I've got 3 connections at this company, and one of them will leave and go to that company, and then they open more doors and I get to know them and they introduce me to other people. So just by hanging around for as long as I have, and it's been a long time, I've made connections just being out there. And that's, I guess, the real key. You have to be out there.
Definitely. And I do feel that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts to ask people. When I first started doing Slot Speak, I was actually very nervous about being rejected and people saying no.
Well, you know, that's going to happen. I've had people in the land-based and online gambling industry who have decided they don't want to work with us anymore. Sometimes it's because they were doing something that a lot of people felt was wrong, and we called them out on it. And then they don't want, of course, whether it's through embarrassment or guilt, or they just were, you know, couldn't do business anymore because they got caught, they left. Other times in the land-based industry, there's been misunderstandings with people. We're all people. And, you know, that happens and they decide, oh, I don't want him to come film anymore. But usually rejection is only temporary. One person rejects you, another person does not. In life, you're going to run into that. You put up a video on YouTube you could put up a video of a puppy with a flower and a baby, and they're all smiling and the sun's showing, and somebody is going to put a thumbs down on that video. They're just, the world is full of jerks. And, you know, no matter what you do, there's always going to be people who reject you, who don't want to work with you. And you just got to say, to hell with it. You know, you keep going. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you keep doing what you're doing, whether it's video, whether it's slots, whether it's something that one of your viewers is doing at a job, wherever they are, going on is how you win. Continuing is how you win. It's not a matter of pleasing everyone and giving everyone what they want, because you cannot. The victory is continuing, being successful, staying where you are, and being a part of what you want to be a part of.
Yes, that is some of the greatest advice for everyone. Is because it can be like that you can experience so rejected and like still put down at times, but I do find that there's like the idea of keep going and you'll eventually find your place.
Eventually, yes. And the best advice I ever got, and I know people have heard it said, was the old saying is, do what you want, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of the same thing with This Week in Gambling, when I call it a labor of love. It is time consuming and it is a project, but because I enjoy it, I continue to do it. If I did not enjoy it, it would be very difficult. So the advice I got when my parents found out I wanted to do video when I was much younger, they said, why, you've got a good mind. Why don't you do something with law? Why don't you become a lawyer? And I talked to somebody about that who was in marketing. And he said to me, well, if you do law, you're not going to do your very best because you're not going to like it. So you'll be an average lawyer. But if you are in marketing, odds are you'll like it, so you'll be a good marketer. So which one are you going to make more money doing, really? being an average lawyer or being a really good marketer. And I was like, that's good advice. That's good advice. Do what you want, and you'll probably rise higher in that industry than you would have if you just go into a business because all you want to do is make money.
Yes, that is so true. And I do feel that the businesses that are the most successful are the businesses that have the most passion behind them.
That's true. That is very true. Any successful business person is probably devoted many 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, at least in the beginning, to what they were doing. And, you know, my uncle had a saying about owning his own business and becoming a millionaire. And people said, wow, you're lucky. He says, yes, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
So to kind of wrap things up, do you have any favorite stories from the industry, or like any favorite stories in general?
Oh, goodness, man, you know, I've been around a while. I don't have no favorite stories really come to mind. You know, I can think of a few parties that I was carried out of, but that was a much younger me. And that was a long time ago. I've been a part of a few things. I was in Las Vegas during the Las Vegas shooting a few years ago when the whole town was shut down. And I'll tell you, it's quite a eerie, scary almost thing to look out on Las Vegas Boulevard and no one is there. It's completely shut down, completely quiet. That's something that will stick with me for a while. It's not a great memory, but it is one of the most vivid memories.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about it in the news, and it's definitely going to be something that will stick in my mind for the. Yeah, and just remember I just remember just how appalled and numb I felt to the entire thing. Like my initial reaction was like appalled and shocked.
Yeah, you know, I was actually there for the Global Gaming Expo that year. It was right before the G2e began. I was playing poker over close to Bally's, Flamingo, Bellagio area when the news came in, and then it got worse and worse. And I'll never forget my last day in Las Vegas, driving to the airport, and I could look and see Mandalay Bay, and I could see the windows boarded up where the gentleman, I use that term, gentleman, had been shooting from. So yeah, but life goes on. We remember it, and hopefully that kind of thing won't repeat itself ever again.
I do pray for the safety of the city and for like, the safety of everybody, of everybody in every city around the world. It is something to be taken so seriously, and it's such a sad memory.
It is, but we live in a world where, you know, with freedoms and living in a free society, those kind of things are going to happen. The alternative to a free society is a controlled society, and I don't think anyone wants to go there. So if you want to have certain freedoms, you want to be able to move and go places and not be harassed, that does open the door that people with bad motivations can do things like this. So it's a trade-off. Unfortunately, the world will always have people like that. But that's why there's gaming, you know, because we can kind of sometimes distract ourselves from things like that. And most people in the world are good, nice, honest people. It's those few that cause things like that.
Yeah, I do feel that I do feel that gaming does bring us together, and that like, for example, even like Dragon Link, there's like something that we can bond with other people, and I feel that the kinder we are to people and the more we can find in common with others, the happier the world will be.
Yeah, that's true. If you don't think gaming brings people together, well, then go hang out in the sports book for a while and listen to everyone cheering and hugging each other. Or better yet, go hang out at the craps table and watch what happens when the guy keeps rolling a hard 8.
It is such a happy moment. And even on YouTube, I see there's like so many happy people like just cheering people on. They get the bonus in the chat, and it's like such a happy environment.
That's true. That's true. There is some camaraderie among slot players, so that's fun to see.
It is. Yeah. So before we close out, do you have anything that we wish that we talked about?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak with you. I thank you for letting me mention This Week in Gambling. And, I think there's enough players out there that we can all share, as creators, we can share with one another and all be successful and all make a living in doing this, and just everyone enjoy gaming again.
Yes. And also, I cannot thank you enough for being on the show. And also thank you so much for wanting to be interviewed. This was such a great interview, and this was like so much fun getting to know you, Mom. And I'll definitely keep following American Casino Guy. No, correction. This Week in Gambling. Right, I keep getting words mixed up. So
that's okay. That's okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but also, if you have not already, please be sure to check out This Week in Gambling's YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description below. And I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.